Welcome to the Red Path Portal. Hi, if you haven't joined me before, I'm Trevor, and after nearly 40 years of meditating and teaching meditation, and almost 15 years of ayahuasca and training ayahuasca facilitators, I've come to notice a thread that is common to both meditation and ayahuasca. So meditation and ayahuasca are two different approaches to achieving altered states of consciousness, higher states of consciousness, healing, spiritual growth, and a sense of peace. They differ significantly, yet are similar in nearly every way. So it's quite unbelievable to see the similarities between the two. And how can this be? So firstly, in meditation, one is able to meditate on one's own whenever one wishes to, and one needs a quiet place for this, or one can meditate in a group, as I've mentioned before in my previous videos. So the group meditation accelerates one's spiritual and psychic growth. So whereas ayahuasca also requires a sacrifice of fasting, going on a special diet, which is very important. Certain foods will interact with the plant medicine, and this can create adverse effects. So with meditation, we can see it's easy to meditate, whereas ayahuasca, a diet needs to be followed to be able to attend an ayahuasca ceremony. So this sacrifice, when it comes to ayahuasca, it's really not easy to do an ayahuasca ceremony like people think. Firstly, the fast. One feels like one is starving all the time, the body is detoxing. So you're going through all these changes, and then who can ever forget the taste, or should I say the indescribable taste of ayahuasca. So what I found over the years, in the early days, we used to do ayahuasca on a regular basis, sometimes for a week in a row, 3 days in a row, 2 days in a row. And then it got to a point where we were doing it once a week and then every 2 weeks. So where I'm going with this is ayahuasca is really not an easy thing to do. The more you do it, the more difficult it becomes to do it. Not only the taste, but the entire process. But once we break through the matrix with ayahuasca, all that falls away, and this is where the similarities between meditation and ayahuasca become apparent. With meditation, we need to really meditate for months or years in a very proper way so that we can achieve some kind of alignment or some kind of a success. So we're not really looking at just a sense of peace of mind, but we start to awaken those energies within the body. So the tubes that run up along the body, around the head, these tubes were known by the ancient Maya, and their work was to fill these tubes with energy. So what is the energy that goes into these tubes? Well, it's the breath and prana, the life force. So we need to fill these tubes in meditation with this prana. So when it comes to ayahuasca, this process in some way automatically takes place. So whereas meditation is going to require much more sacrifice or many years to achieve that, whereas ayahuasca can do the same process in a matter of minutes or within the evening of the ceremony. So with meditation, the only way for this to be successful, one really needs to practice the formula of dedication, perseverance, and discipline. And coupled with meditation, one should really do chanting and breathing, because it's the breathing that's going to still the thought process to bring one to that state of peace, that inner zone of Zen. Whereas ayahuasca is going to do this in one evening. So we can already see it's a vast difference, yet both leading to the same results. So with meditation, when we start to align and awaken, the chakras, which are the vortices, start to open up and become portals into other realities. So physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So when we take ayahuasca, these vortices are automatically opening with the plant medicine. So both the medicines are going to affect the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is going to take one into that breathless Zen-like state. But now the big difference here is when in meditation, over the months and over the years, you're daily processing your thoughts, your emotions. So you're integrating this process into your soul on a regular basis. You're accepting, you're growing. But now when it comes to ayahuasca, people break through the matrix. Everything becomes amplified in a really huge way. So you can feel things, you can see things. Whereas with meditation, it's a lot more subtle, the process, a lot more seamless. So you can imagine you're meditating and there are spirit beings around you on a daily basis that come and visit, that influence your thoughts and stream visions into your consciousness. Whereas in ayahuasca, you could within seconds break through the matrix and you're not feeling spirit or higher entities with you. They're right in front of you, bang, is this entity. So it's quite a shock, the two differences. One is more subtle and the other one is really in your face. So talking about in your face, this is what ayahuasca also does. It simulates the death process. So when you go into that psychic state and everything becomes amplified, you can hear thoughts, telepathy, you can feel things in an extremely magnified way. So here it is, all of a sudden, now you're in ayahuasca, you've got to deal with all these thoughts that you haven't been dealing with. So in other words, you come face to face with yourself, you meet your maker. And in a similar way that when we go through the death experience, if we haven't processed this on a daily basis, we get to meet these things that we've created. You meet your maker. So this meeting yourself really happens in many meditations and many ayahuasca ceremonies, no matter how purified we think we are. So really the shock in a ceremony confronting your true self. So once this process passes, once these emotions and thoughts are brought up, excuse the pun, and if you can't handle it, this is where the purge comes in. So the purge allows you to release these thought forms, these energies, these phobias that we have, and it comes out with the purge, and instantly that death process feels like it's manifesting, and from that death process it feels like life is entering us again, and it feels like we're reborn, remade. So it's a really beautiful healing process, what ayahuasca can do, but it's a difficult process, that initial first phase of ayahuasca. As we meditate for years and start to become aligned, as the chakras start to open up in us into these portals of other dimensions. So now what happens is when the ayahuasca is in us and this medicine starts to move through the body, and in particular into the brain and the mid-center of the brain, from the pituitary to the pineal gland, once the medicine's in that center of your brain, it starts to vibrate with a frequency that you've never experienced before, and this vibration activates the third eye. So this is where the alchemical process takes place. So once the third eye is stimulated, that wisdom eye starts to open, and with that chakra opening up, it starts to open us up into other portals, other dimensions and other realities, where we're able to communicate clearly with spirit or entities from other dimensions. Whereas meditation is exactly the same process, but lagging behind in many ways. The entities and beings are there, and we see visions, but it's not the same process as ayahuasca, where we're actually in that energy or in the other world. So you can imagine lying on your mattress in an ayahuasca ceremony, and the next minute, within seconds, you're in another reality, and there before you, you don't feel or think spirit's there, but in your face, there is spirit. So it's quite a shock for some people when they break through the matrix, almost as if they aren't prepared for this experience. So meditation really prepares one over the years for the ayahuasca experience. So to do an ayahuasca experience and not having meditated before is really like entering two different worlds. So when we look at the difference here, we can see that both ayahuasca and meditation awaken the third eye. The difference being that ayahuasca is on another level. It awakens the third eye really within minutes or within the evening of the ceremony. And when you're in that place, you are now in another reality, or half in another reality. Whereas meditation, you still have that full control, even though you start to enter those other realities. Now, the one thing with meditation is when you start to achieve this on your own, it's more seamless to enter into the astral or the higher worlds of light and truth than it is with ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is more, in a sense, a violent process of one being flung into this other reality. And it is quite a shock for people, especially when you see them in the matrix. And now they're feeling strange and they're seeing strange things. And for some people it's quite a shock, and they want to get out of the matrix and they need to wait for the medicine to wear off before they can leave this place. So those that are trained in meditation have a much easier experience when traveling on ayahuasca or in meditation. Now, the other difference is meditation is absolutely free, whereas ayahuasca comes with a cost, and it's not always available. So in ancient times, the priesthood, those that were trained within the priesthood, were initiated with dimethyltryptamine or DMT. So only once they had passed many strict trials and tests were they allowed to go through what we call an initiation. So they were already prepared psychically or intuitively, and now taking the ayahuasca would open that up on another level, almost really into stages of enlightenment, which is really what an initiation is, those Zen moments in time and space. And people were served an empty chalice during Holy Communion, and really if you drink an empty cup or from a symbolical cup, where is the Holy Communion? Where is that Zen moment between you and God? So it really feels to me as if people have been cheated from their spiritual birthright, because it is everyone's birthright to communicate with God, to communicate with the divine. So isn't it interesting that this was stopped all over the world? And so over 20 years ago, a master took me out for dinner and said, "I've got a birthday gift for you." So after the dinner I inquired, "Where is my gift?" So the master said to me, and me being interested in Mayanism and awakening into Mayanism and seeing my previous lives as a Maya, but that was before I knew, and it was before I even knew what ayahuasca was. So the master said to me, the Maya in ancient times used to purge to break through the matrix. So I was quite confused because purging didn't really sound good and I didn't really understand what was being said. And then I was told that you can do this on your own. You don't need any medicine, any plant medicine or any people to help you. Continue with the path of meditation, the path of spiritual discipline, and you will achieve this on your own and be able to fly like eagles do. This is where we see the dragon who brings the pearl of great sacrifice to the disciple, because achieving enlightenment is the pearl of great sacrifice. And it needs to be achieved if it is to be anything that's permanent in our lives. Whereas ayahuasca, we would constantly need to attend ceremonies to go through this very same process. So whereas meditation is long-lasting and the effects are permanent, the same can be said about ayahuasca. Although it is ephemeral, only lasting for a short period, the ayahuasca experience itself can be long-lasting, having a permanent effect on you, either healing you, bringing you some sense of peace, or creating a shift in your consciousness that changes one forever. One thing we know about ayahuasca is it's really something out of this world. It is designed by the sky gods for this very purpose. Is it used on other planets by other beings that are God conscious? Well, it's a very strong possibility. It is the spice of life, the nectar of the gods. And I hope you enjoyed this little video, and we're going to open the Red Path portal into other dimensions. So push that notification button and subscribe so that you won't miss out on these future videos.
La 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 la